As hard as it might be to believe, video games are still quite a young medium, and over the past few decades, industry insiders and marketers have tried to figure out the best ways to sell you their products. Unfortunately for us, buying the games has meant we've had to sit through a lot of trial and error and some ridiculous stunts, all performed in the names of selling us the next big games. However, while most of these ideas amounted to little more than inoffensive marketing that could be shrugged off, over the past few years alone, we've seen some of the most god-awful ways that the industry has tried to sell us its product. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are the 6 dumbest ways you've been sold video games.
But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to stay notified. Ding, ding, done.
Number 6. Viral marketing for Watch Dogs ends in a bomb squad being called. Everything about Ubisoft's marketing campaign in the run-up to the release of the original Watch Dogs was, well, a complete disaster, but its biggest blunder was one that was swept under the rug because it was pretty downright embarrassing. It all started when a black safe was delivered to an office building in Australia, with the journalist receiving it told to check his voicemail to figure out what to do next. In a classic case of comic miscommunication, the journalist had no way to check his voicemail on that day, but it didn't stop him from trying to open the box anyway. However, after a few failed attempts to pry the box open, it started beeping. Taking into account the mystery of the delivery itself, and many people assumed that it was in fact an explosive device and the bomb squad was called. Of course, it turned out the safe only contained Watch Dogs and a few pieces of swag, leaving everyone with egg on their face. Number 5. Homefront has the lamest guerrilla ad campaign ever. If you ever want to know why former publishing powerhouse THQ went out of business, then you need look no further than the sheer amount of money they spent on the marketing for Homefront back in 2011. The publisher came up with many bad ideas to try and viral market the game to a mass audience, but its worst offender has to be releasing hundreds of communist red balloons all over San Francisco. Most of the balloons, perhaps unsurprisingly, just ended up in the bay, losing whatever impact THQ wanted to achieve with this weird stunt. In a way though, this failed marketing campaign actually sums up the entire release of that original Homefront. It was a game which was propelled into the media on the promise of new ideas and original concepts, and there were a few, but which ultimately ended up being a deflating, uninspired experience overall, not unlike these said balloons. Number 4. Sony sacrifices a goat in the name of God of War. Sony have been well known for taking some wild chances when it comes to marketing either their flagship consoles or their handhelds. But while this approach did achieve them such success in the PS1 games, as the years wore on, these controversial marketing campaigns became far more hassle than they were worth. In particular, God of War launch party for the second game, which was documented by official PlayStation magazine, drew more ire than anyone was expecting. Embracing the historical violence the series is known for, this quote-unquote party actually featured the sacrifice of a goat, with attendees encouraged to perform rituals around its carcass. And I've been to some wild parties in my time, but this has to take the cake. And yeah, look, you can't pull something like this without expecting to ride the coattails of the backlash, but even then, I don't know why Sony thought animal slaughter would get people ready for God of War. Number 3. EA launches Mass Effect 3 into space. Everything about EA sending copies of Mass Effect 3 into space seemed to be in line with the bombastic space melodrama of the series. But the scavenger hunt that followed these discs being launched into the atmosphere and then crashing back down into Earth turned into one of the most ill-conceived gimmicks ever. With the GPS signal traceable on the internet, fans were encouraged to track down these early copies of the trilogy cap and to find out how Shepard's story ended before anyone else on the planet. Unfortunately, however, these discs landed in the most unfortunate of locations, be it private property or just places inaccessible to the average human, which meant that only the most daring fans out there could actually get their hands on one of these discs. Not only that, but many websites actually went out of their way to find these discs before anyone else, meaning that a couple of them ended up in the hands of corporate journalists who would probably get the game anywhere rather than actual fans. Number 2. A guy holds up a bar with a fake gun to promote Splinter Cell. Although the Watch Dogs bomb scare was a bit of a gaffe on Ubisoft's part, you can at least see what they were trying to do to promote their game in a sort of inoffensive way. It just got out of hand. Unfortunately, the same excuse can't be used for a stunt they pulled during the release of Splinter Cell Conviction. Because, for some reason, Ubisoft decided that it would be a good idea for a guy covered in bandages to run into a bar in New Zealand and start waving a fake toy gun around, pointing the prop gun at people who were probably otherwise drowning their sorrows. The police obviously were called, and thankfully the situation ended without anyone getting accidentally shot. The guy admitted that the whole thing had been a marketing stunt for Splinter Cell Conviction, though even with that excuse in mind, one has to wonder just what the hell Ubisoft were trying to achieve by doing this. Number 1. Deus Ex's Augment your pre-order. Look, let's face it, Square Enix have never been all that good at marketing their releases. But their decision to turn pre-orders into a fully fledged minigame for Deus Ex Mankind Divided was, without a doubt, a step too far and received such a backlash that the publisher cancelled the whole thing altogether. Instead of offering a few extra skins or some in-game updates, the publisher instead opted to produce these tiers, essentially Kickstarter-like stretch goals, which would unlock substantial content like new missions and soundtracks, which could then be redeemed once global pre-orders hit a certain threshold. It was a stupid idea, but it was so egregious because of the way it was spun, with Square making it appear as though you were getting free content by upgrading, rather than them locking off content which should have been available in the base game in the first place. So that's our list. Let me know down in the comments below whether you can think of any misguided marketing attempts even more botched than this sorry lot. And while you're there, maybe give us a like, share, subscribe, and even head over to whatculture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Also, you might want to check out a video on 8 truly terrible video game quests we're all sick of, or head over to our film channel for 8 movie fan theories that were confirmed by the creators. As always, I've been Josh, you've been watching What Culture, and I'll see you soon. Bye.